Hey y'all. So I'm gonna start the 4 stories. Wait. He's really Four is a very analytical person, and building that analytical side of himself is what helps him become better at being an instructor, being a person, because that's like his tendency, to see how things work and then help them be better. This is the last book of the Divergent rereading vlogs. It's like the last book in the series. It's like a collection of novellas that are centered around Four, and I'm super excited to read it. I mean, I've read it twice before. I know I've reread this one, not as often as Insurgent, but definitely more than Divergent and Allegiant. But I'm so excited to be reading this today. Well, rereading it for y'all, and I know it's not going to take that long because I read these books really fast anyway, and this is not that long, and I know I'm going to fly through because I'm going to have so much fun. But I'm so thankful. Just right now, I want to say how thankful I am. I think I'm about to finish the first 4 story, because there are 4 in here, and 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. And so I'm about to finish the first one, and basically this one was all about Four and his journey from abnegation to Dauntless, and he just went through his first fear landscape, and everybody's geeking out. Well, not everybody, but Amar and Tori are geeking out because he is literally this dude with 4 fears, and Amar knows he doesn't want to tell anybody his name, and so he just gave him the name Four. And I think that it's so interesting because, again, I was kind of reading, and obviously he's like this hunched over, very tall, kind of awkward abnegation king that's like wants to be Dauntless, and so he's kind of showing his Dauntless the way that he is definitely good for Dauntless. He's like, shut up when they're talking bad about him and stuff, and he faces his fears very well too. But now they're at the table, and the transfers are trying to figure out what his real name is, and Eric's being a butt. I feel like he's being a butt. But anyway, Four realizes that, Tobias realizes that in order to erase his old self in all the minds of the initiates and everybody, he has to create a new self. And so I was reading, and he said he hesitated, and then he put his elbows on the table and raised his eyebrow, like, my name is Four. Call me stiff again, and you and I will have a problem. And I can just imagine how he said it, and it reminds me of how he is in Divergent, before like Tris. And, I was about to say, like, oh my gosh, look at, what did I say? I said, look at Tobias coming out, right? But then I realized that Four is a persona. Like, he actually had to create a hardened version of himself with a new name and everything in order to get through Dauntless. And we see why an Insurgent, based off what happened with the Dauntless initiates that found out why he came to Dauntless. And it's just like, it's so sad, I think, that people have to, sometimes they go to a new place and it's like an escape, but because of the type of cutthroat mentality everybody there has, they have to create a new version of themselves. And I think that you can get lost in that. And again, I see that with him because he's not a very violent person. He's actually afraid of the violence inside of him. But as the series continues, because he's been living this life as this first initiate, then instructor. And again, obviously I'm going to see the rest of a lot more of his Dauntless life in this book, and I'm excited for that. But just this right here that they gave me shows me that, again, that started to like actually affect him negatively, the violence that surrounds Dauntless and the need to fight everything. And again, it's just like, wow, seeing him kind of put on this persona is just kind of like, wow, That's right, someone who's finally ready to fight. And honestly, he needed to learn how to fight back, honestly, because he had been kind of had the fight, really like beat out of him, And so Dauntless is really good for him. And again, I think that that's very relatable to real life too, because everywhere we go, there are going to be bad and good influences, and we can choose. And sometimes we have to sift through it, and sometimes it takes time to sift through the bad and the good and figure out what should stay and what should not be picked up. And again, this is one of those times, and this violence that he needs, what I'm saying, this, not even violence, but the bravery and boldness he needs to fight for himself is needed, but not too much, because then it's like, just gratuitous violence. But anyway, I love this so much. I'm excited to talk about this with my reading buddy, who's Ruth, from Instagram. And so I'm on to the next story. Hold on. I don't know why this is taking so long, but God is so good to me because I can't find it in myself to like blame myself for that and feel really guilty, which is good. But now I'm on my way to the Initiate, because the first one was called The Transfer. Veronica ate for making these also. Like, I love these. I love them. But yes, we're on to this one now. This is giving such middle school vibes. I cry on a daily. How's she gonna put that in on? How? Amara is such a beautiful character. He like flashes butt to the people in Erudite on a dare. This is goofy. And now Forrest's laughing for like the first time in the whole book. I'm blessed. I really love that this book has so much, you know, so much of the like Dauntless, like the blessing that Dauntless is. It has so much of that in there, you know, and it makes me really happy. I feel like my favorite thing about this book is that when you read Divergent and Insurgent and Allegiant, but particularly I think Divergent because they all start to change over the course of the books. When you read Divergent and you first meet Floor, you really meet this version of himself that he's built up, you know, over his whole life, basically, and then obviously Dauntless training, you know, and for the past 2 years after Dauntless training or whatever. You're meeting this new and improved almost version of him. You know, you're not meeting, you know, the necessarily broken version of him or the weaker version of him, the version of him that was passive. You're not meeting that because he is, you know, built up this sort of, you know, confidence and surety about himself. And I just think that the fact that Veronica wrote this entire like story collection about him just is a blessing to me, because as somebody who works on himself a lot and then meets people as this new and improved worked on version of myself, always growing but miles ahead of where I've ever been in the past, I mean, it can be exhausting sometimes to kind of, I don't know, have people kind of put you on a pedestal to the point where they're like, oh my gosh, like, you're so this, and you're so this, and oh my gosh, like, you're perfect, and you're amazing, and it's like, I'm not perfect, you know what I'm saying, I'm very imperfect, and the things that they're saying about me, that they love about me now, took time to build, and I didn't always have them, and it didn't always look nice, you know, that they weren't always, I wasn't always a person that I would want people that love me, or anybody, really, to meet, and I just love what this book returns to me almost, what this book means, like what this book, how relatable this book is, because this is his building journey here. You're always building as a person, but I think there are some times in your life when you're building more so than others, and I think his journey from abnegation to Dauntless initiate, to Dauntless, you know, instructor and all that, I think that, and then we do see it, we're going to get to see a scene in Divergent from his point of view, so all of that, it just, you know, it got him to where we see him in Divergent, and I just love that Veronica Roth wrote this, because it just reminds me that our journeys do matter. Like, people won't see the work, like, you know what I'm saying, Triss and the rest of the initiates that are, like, afraid of him in Initiation and Divergent, they are not seeing any of the work he did to become like that. The people who admire him for being so good at knife throwing, the people who admire him for, you know, being confident and not being afraid to clap back at people, and,
being strong and winning fights and, only having 4 fears and things like this, not letting his fears overcome him. These are things that he had to build. And even though this book is not like a full-length novel story about him, it just gives you that glimpse into how much work went into him being the 4 that we all know from the series, from the main books. And it just reminds you that you never know what somebody could have gone through to be there. And I think that us as people can all be better at really tuning out those voices that put people that want us to put people on pedestals because they're really good at something, or because they seem to have it all together, because they had to get to that point, and even if they've gotten to a point of feeling very sure of themselves and confident, there's always going to be something new. There's always going to be growth, especially for the type of people that 4 is, the type of that person that 4 is, always working almost obsessively almost, and some person that I am, who enjoys working on myself and always is getting better and growing and stuff. And so, yeah, I just think that this book reminds me to give people grace, and to imagine, not even imagine what they might have gone through, but just to think they had to get somewhere. Like, if I'm proud of them for something they're doing right now, they probably weren't always doing this. And that matters. And so instead of putting it on a pedestal, just seeing them as, somebody who is, the same, what I'm saying? Seeing the sameness, because we all have our journeys, And so, yeah, I love this book, basically, and I just love reading this and just seeing who he is, Shauna just asked him to be her instructor for fighting, and this is the first time he's going to learn that he actually has a knack for teaching people stuff. And I just love the characters. I love the way that other people can just help you find parts of yourself that you didn't know you had, and help you cultivate those parts when it feels like you don't have what it takes. Oh, I love God. Zeke and Shauna are hilarious. Because he's really, 4 is a very analytical person, and building that, like, analytical side of himself is what helps him become better at being an instructor, being a person, because that's, like, his tendency, to see how things work and then help them be better. I love 4. I love his tenacity and his sureness, like, the way he literally just, like, will stand firmly on something. I really love him. I really do. He's such a great character. This man has such a big impact on my, like, existence. Also, I'm like halfway through this story already. I'm like eating this up, okay? Like, I haven't been in a slump. It's just taking me a minute because I've been doing a lot of other stuff. But I'm glad, you know what I'm saying? Because every time I come back to these books, I'm better and they're better. And, it's just a blessing. Yeah, this book, like, it reminds me, and it like gives me permission to appreciate the journey that I've been on. And to appreciate the fact that I don't have to think about it every 5 seconds. Both of those things in equal measure. Like, I can be proud of where I've been and the things I've survived. And the things, that didn't kill me but made me stronger, even though they felt like they were the end of the world. But I also don't have to think about them ever again or, very regularly, except to continue learning from them if there is something to learn from them. I do think in life there are things that you lay down forever, that you get through them, you survive them, and then it is done. Because, again, I think that can cause future and present anxiety when you keep on thinking about and remembering bad things that happened. Whether you've gotten through them or not, which obviously you probably have if you are past it. But you know what I mean. Like, there is an art to living, and you just learn as you go. Will not let 4 close himself off, because I think in journeys, when we're growing, as people, when we're healing from things, when we've made it out of whatever the really bad thing was, but now we're trying to heal from that thing, we want to isolate ourselves. We want to be like, okay, I'm good, leave me alone, I'm getting through this, even though you're struggling. And Amar and Shauna and Zeke, they won't let him do that. And I so appreciate that, and I so, pray that God helps me to see the people in my life that will not let me retreat in times of healing. Because you need other people. Like, again, that's the whole theme of this series, is that we mend each other. You need other people to help you in those times more than ever. Trying to heal by yourself is just like making yourself and, walking back into the battle by yourself. And I'm grateful. I love Veronica Roth. And then Veronica Roth adds humanness to Marcus's character, because for all the crap he did, he was aware that he was probably that version, and he was trying to protect him from, showing that to people, because he would probably die. And so there is love in his heart for 4. It's just like, oh my gosh. For teacher 4, I love him. He's so proud. He's like, oh my gosh, it works. Hello. So, today, we are finishing the Divergent Rereadathon. Like, it's been going on since July, and
I'm emotional. But today I'm finally going to finish it, you know, because y'all deserve this vlog. We deserve to move on from this, you know, and go back and think about what we learned and then use it in whatever we read next, whatever we write next, you know, whatever we do next. Because this series for 8 years now has been such a great, like, companion, you know, to my life. It's helped me in so many different areas, not only writing and reading. And so, yeah, I'm excited, you know what I'm saying, to finish this off, you know what I'm saying. I've been loving it, obviously. And then to thank y'all for staying here with me this whole time, you know. And so I'm making some delicious breakfast, and we're going to sit down and finish the 4 stories. And again, I'm about like more than halfway through the book right now. A little bit, not really, I guess kind of halfway. And so I'm probably not going to sit down and just finish the whole thing right now, but I might. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? This is going to be a beautiful day, and I'm excited to wrap this up. You know what I'm saying? It's been such a beautiful experience, you know, and I mean, I've procrastinated, I guess, as long as I can. Even though it hasn't really been procrastination, it's just been wanting to savor the story and, you know, life sort of turning in ways that didn't allow really for time to read this, you know. But now I feel like I'm really ready. And so let's finish this vlog. Oh. Also, happy July, everybody. I mean, happy October. First song of, technically not the first song, because I stayed up last night revising my book. But, first song in the morning of October 2022. Make some noise. Got a blessing. If you really believe it. God's got a blessing. These bussin', y'all. God's got a blessing. Look at that. Woo! More disappointing than last. I intend to warp everyone's mind into feeling hate for everyone they come in contact with, whether you love them or not. Y'all, this book, Veronica Roth is such an amazing author, guys. I love that Ford does not mind changing right where he is. He doesn't think an entire life change is needed for you to change your mindset and the way that you live in a way that will positively affect you. You know. Instead of the factions are deteriorating, the superior. He's just so relatable. Ah! Oh, he about to be a traitor. He about to be a traitor. Woo! Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Got really emotional about like Fortnite and Divergent and playing Fortnite inspired by Divergent, and yeah, because we're finally in Triss's timeline now in Ford's point of view, and I'm emotional. You know, I'm emotional, and I'm thankful for all the Divergent series has given me and returned to me, and during this time of rereading it, like. You know, again, I didn't, like, play Fortnite regularly at all until I started rereading these books. And now it's, like, a thing that me and my friend do, and my siblings do it a lot. I do it myself and just listen to music the whole time and, like, really just enjoy myself because I've gotten so good at the game. It's like I could play with my eyes closed. And, like, I'm just so thankful that these books continue to improve my life and help me move forward, you know?
And I'm just excited to talk about that at the end, but we're not there yet, so. Oh my gosh, it's Tris! Maybe we're just checking the doggone. Okay, it's Tris is on screen, bro. I repeat, Tris is on screen. The way that Tobias is going on Tris's name is making me pissed. But it just shows you how often, which I didn't know until I was much older, how often the names that people give their kids it turn out to not be right for them as they grow up. I thought it was just a me thing. But no. Which is funny because my dad also changed his name. Hilarious. Aww, she's like looking at Tris and she being cute. How much she has like color in her cheeks. I can just imagine her like happy that her mom's there. Ah! I'm sorry. There's this book, and that's why it's taking me so long to finish it. This book is like carrying shit on your back. Like when you're in the middle of this, like particularly Elysian 4 area, it's just like you're carrying so much other stuff. Like you're carrying all 3 books plus all the stuff that you just read in 4, and it's just like it starts to really hurt. Like you gotta rest, more often. I love how 4 is just like instructor, but he still has thoughts, You can depend on God to see you through, and you can depend on me to pray for you. Okay, so I used to write Divergent fan fiction, and I wrote like an entire series in Forrest's point of view, like Divergent, Insurgent, and Allegiant I wrote in Forrest's point of view. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. I haven't finished Allegiance yet, don't know when I will. I started rewriting Divergent's book, and it was actually really great, super clever. I might put the it's on my Wattpad, you can still go read them. I'll put up the covers here because it's funny, they're the colors of Ichikan. They're Ichikan's colors. I wrote them, and I was actually rewriting them a little bit when I was first reading Divergent and stuff. There's been so much going on. Like, I just let it go if I haven't done something I really wanted to do or whatever. But, this scene with Gus, his supervisor in the control room, where he, gets caught trying to look at Max's footage, I thought I came up with that. I reread the chapters sometimes, and I thought for a fact, I had, kind of just thought that maybe he had done this, but apparently, again, I haven't reread the 4 stories since, it came out, because I read it, and then I read it again right at the time when it came out, 2014, 15, and so, after that, it's I forgot it ever happened, even though I wrote the fan fictions kind of with this knowledge, which I just now found out, but I thought it was a completely fake, scene. I thought it was just me, but no, he was checking in Max's office to make sure he wasn't there, and then he snuck in there, did something with the computer, he was trying to find a code or something, and then he came back, and now Gus, his supervisor, like I just said, is standing over his computer this is sus. So he's like, oh my god, I gotta lie. So then So, he's asking him, you're not supposed to isolate the footage, bro. What are you doing? And then Ford's like, oh my god, I have to lie. So what am I going to say? And he says, we're only supposed to isolate the footage when we see something out of the ordinary. And then Gus said, so why did I just see you on the screen coming out of the same hole? He is the out of the ordinary. That's funny. That was funny. That was really funny. So this man, he just put on he put a file on Max's computer that's gonna allow him to see every single meeting and stuff he has with Janine. Oh my gosh, goated. He clever, to be honest. My boy's clever, bro. I'm big as boom. For oh my gosh, I hope nothing happened to Tris. Nobody even mentioned her. He's like, is she okay? He said he in love. And this is when Edward unfortunately got stabbed in the eye. So that's kind of early in the book. He is already in love. And that's crazy because I didn't know fully that was training before Triss's year, or before Triss and the people before Triss's year, was so lax. Like, when you watch Divergent, when you read Divergent, it's like they cutthroat. You know what I'm saying? Because some of them might be factions at the end, and so they're cutthroat, not only with each other but themselves. If they're not doing well, they're like, well, I guess I'm gonna be factions. It's like fear, you know. That's pressure to perform, you know, constantly. And people don't act well under pressure a lot of the time, particularly in a life or death situation where people have access to knives and guns. And so Eric suggesting that 2 years ago is the reason why, you know what I'm saying, all these people are now put in this position where, yeah, they don't have to choose to stab people in the eye and act crazy, but it makes perfect sense why people who already were coming from an environment where they can do whatever they want to do and have been doing whatever they want to do, those people are now going to take that to the next level because they believe that they deserve to win and that these other people don't. And it's just like, bruh, I can't believe Max will even listen to Eric. Like, I can, but it's just like, bruh, this dude is so setting up y'all for failure. It is Eric's fault. Not even like it's Eric's choice that somebody stabs somebody else in the eye. But his rules are what put in place a mindset that getting into Dauntless is more important than doing your best. Because Peter and them is doing their best.
Hello. So, I finally am done with the 4 stories. I'm finally finished with my Divergent read along, which is crazy because it's been like so many months since I started it, but I'm so happy to say that I am like finished with it. Not because I like am so happy that I'm done, but like it just feels good to finish something and to have truly experienced that whole series for the second time fully. You know, this is the first time I've ever reread the whole thing in a row, you know, in order. And I mean, wow. You know what I'm saying? It was truly an amazing experience. Helped me with my life, you know what I'm saying? It, you know, reminded me of how much I love it, you know, grew my love for it, grew my love for writing, grew my love for reading, you know, you know, it brought me so much joy. It made me cry, you know. Oh, I mean, it felt like so many different things. You know, I actually got to buddy read this with one of my, like, friends, Ruth, and it was so fun just having, like, talking to her about the stuff as we read each short story. My favorite one was definitely The Traitor, because, I mean, it was so long, and it was so delicious, because it was Divergent's timeline, and so we got to see scenes that we had seen in Triss's point of view and his point of view, and Veronica picked the best scenes, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the fear landscape scene when he lets her go into his fear landscape, and the scene where, by the chasm and, you know, like, stuff like that, and it's just like, my heart was just soaring, you know, seeing how in love with her he was, even from that point, you know, even from, like, the point of, like, you know, he just was paying that extra attention, and so, again, to see it in his point of view was so funny, because he's giving off this stoic vibe, you know, and he would actually say that he would try and be mean to her when he caught himself being too nice, you know, because he didn't want her to know that he, like, liked her. And I mean, it was just so funny, you know, being inside his head. I really loved it. I really enjoyed it. And I mean, I loved every single book, you know. Insurgent probably will always be my favorite. I mean, it's just so good. I had so much fun with that. I was thinking about it yesterday. It made me cry because it was such a beautiful experience to experience my favorite book, like, in the universe again. You know, it was just amazing. And I'm so thankful for Veronica that she would, you know, pop off like this. I actually had the pleasure of meeting her in September, and I mean, it was just a dream come true to hear her talk about her most recent book, which comes out this month, actually, Poster Girl, which is another dystopian, and to hear her talk about how much she's grown as an author and stuff since Divergent, but to be still, you know, to have it so fresh in my mind and know that even though she's grown, that is some of her best work, is such a blessing. You know, because obviously you always grow, but Divergent will always be important to me. And it's like, it's not just important because it was a foundational series to my reading. Now, I can safely say and proudly say that this series is always going to be my favorite because it just is that good. Like, I mean, how many times do you reread something after not rereading it for like 8 years and you love it the same or even more? And that's this series for me. And so I mean, it was such a blessing. Thank y'all for sticking around. I had so much fun. Thank you for reading this with me. Whoever, all the people in my comments that mentioned that they hadn't read it or hadn't read it in a while or hadn't read 4 stories. I hope you read it during this time. I hope I gave ample time to finish it along with me so we can all talk about it at the end of this video, in the comments or whatever. I do hope to be making some more discussion type videos about Divergent like I said I was going to in July. And if you guys will want specific ones, I will pinpoint those and do those, prioritize those. So tell me all about it in the comments. What more Divergent content do you want to see, if any? But truly, I'm just so thankful that you all were here with me this whole time. Thank you for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I did. I hope you reread the books at some point in the future and that you love them even more just like I did if this was your first time or if it wasn't. I just hope you had fun. I love you. Be brave. More videos coming soon. We did it. Woo!